Hello everyone, Morgan here. So today I am going to be briefly talking about food shortages, but mostly I am going to be talking about how we can combat any future food shortages. First of all, I want to say that we've been seeing food shortages for a couple months now. It's actually been happening since February, and then it got really crazy in March. And there have been certain food shortages of certain items that have been pretty consistent. I did a poll on Twitter and on YouTube. Well, not a poll, but I asked people, what shortages are you seeing in your area? And there's a few very common ones. There's rice is still pretty short, flour, yeast, eggs, milk. Those are really the main shortages that people are seeing all over the place. Now, there are going to be just so many variables between where you live, from store to store, and then there's variables on the type of products that are out, and also for how long. Times of the month. One person mentioned that whenever people get their food stamps, they really stock up, and you can really tell, that there's been a clearing out of shelves because, they just got their food stamps or whatever. So, times of the month may be different, people getting their paychecks, going and stocking up and things like that. And then some people have said that they haven't seen food shortages on anything. I've actually heard several people say that they haven't seen food shortages here in the United States on anything. And, but again, it really depends on where you live. I am in a very small town, and I have been seeing shortages. I've gone to bigger towns, and there's been even more shortages of a variety of things. Bread's been out, all those kinds of things. Okay, but I don't want to dwell on that. How would there be mass continued shortages of like meat and things like that? Mainly because when people get sick, they don't have enough employees to handle the workload of like a meat factory or any type of factory, any type of production, the truck drivers, the supply chain, right? So we have a whole supply chain to think of. And when we think about the supply chain, we're thinking about the people behind the supply chain. If, your whole company is getting sick and out of work, and you can't bring on enough people, temps or whatever, to get it going again, there's going to be shutdowns of those factories, and then there's going to be less product being shipped out. Especially, now there are major, factories being shut down because the workers are getting sick. Now, one or two farms or, distribution centers or whatever it is, several truck drivers, they're getting sick. That is a huge blow to the supply chain. The U.S. is already struggling as it is to keep up with the supply chain, but, obviously because, shelves may be stocked, for an hour or two in the morning, but they're empty by the evening. You know what I'm saying? So basically, I'm not going to go into too detailed specifics of that, but we really do have to keep that in mind, of the fact that, if everybody's getting sick and people aren't working, then those places can't produce things that we need that are going to the grocery store. So here's what you need to do in order to combat this and combat the food shortages. Stock up little by little. Now, when I say this, like specifically, if you can get like a freezer or like a big deep freeze, something like that, and then go to the store and get like a bunch of freezer items, that's going to be fantastic. We still have electricity unless you're in somewhere like a tornado or natural disaster or something in which you have power knocked out for a while. But for the most part, we still have electricity, and, having those deep freezes with stuff in it is great. Now, don't go to the store and clear out shelves just to fill your deep freeze. Get like 2 to 4 things of chicken, 2 to 4 things of beef, 2 to 4 things of pork, these things, and get the variety, 2 to 4 things of turkey, fill your basket with that. Don't clear the shelves, and then go to the freezer aisle and do the same thing. Get like a few bags of things and put it in. Now, the next time you go shopping, get like 1 or 2 extra of whatever you can find that can be frozen. And there's a lot of things that can be frozen that maybe you wouldn't think of, like, you could freeze bread. I've heard that you can freeze milk. I've never done it, but I hear that you can. Look online about the things that you can freeze, and then try to stock up on that stuff little by little. And so then whenever you go grocery shopping, instead of buying 1 extra, you're now buying maybe 2 or 3 extra, but you're not clearing out the shelves still. Okay, you're leaving stuff still for other people, but you're still supplying stuff for yourself, right? And so in that respect, when you are at the store, think of alternatives. Can't find flour? You know what I could find the other day? Gluten-free flour. Lots of it too. It'll bake the same way. It'll be gluten. It may not bake the exact same way. You may have to adjust slightly, but gluten-free flour, that's an option. And yes, it was more expensive, like the almond flour, coconut flour. I did start seeing that come back. Is it more expensive? Yes, but it is an alternative and it does work. And you may have to look up recipes to use those alternatives, but they do work as alternatives. So we do have to look at alternatives. Can't find eggs? What can you use as egg substitutes in baking and things like that? Look at the substitutes and alternatives. Next one's going to be start a garden. Now, I know there have been several stores in which they're saying that seeds aren't essential, but you can still get seeds online, get them delivered to your house. A lot of seeds are going out of stock right now because of the immense amount of people starting gardens, which is fantastic, by the way. I've seen tons of people starting gardens lately, and it's great. Even if you live in an apartment or a small home or whatever, get a little container garden, get a little herb garden, get a little tiny indoor garden, put it next to a window, water it every day. Get some type of garden started. It will, you're going to see great things coming from it. If you have a porch or a balcony or something, get like a little burlap sack and grow some potatoes in it. Really think outside the box and just figure out what you can do and what you're capable of doing. All right, the next thing, if you have just a little tiny backyard or somewhere, maybe you have a relative or a friend that you could convince to do this, but get chickens. Chickens for eggs and meat chickens. Meat chickens are really great to have as well. And get a few of those. All you need for like a family is like 5 chickens to lay the eggs, and then the meat chickens, get a few of those if you want, but definitely chickens to at least lay the eggs. What's out right now everywhere? Eggs. Something that you may want to do is get to know your local farmer. There are lots of local farmers, local people that may have ducks or chickens or something like that. And, put an ad on Craigslist. Hey, I'm looking for eggs. Are you a local farmer? Are you just someone who has ducks and chickens? Can I buy some eggs from you? Reach out to your local community. All right, the next one is going to be if you're interested in learning how to raise meat rabbits. I have a podcast that talks about raising rabbits for meat. And so if that's something that you're capable of doing, that's definitely something you could look into. Next one is going to be sprout seeds and sprout some seeds. Super easy. I have a couple videos down below in the description box. Super, super easy, super nutritious, just amazing. I love sprouting seeds. Next one is going to be learn wild edibles in your area. Now is the time to learn wild edibles. Get a book. Find information online for your specific area. I just wrote a blog post on my website about how to find wild edibles in your area, and go out and start looking for wild edibles. That could be a great way to supplement your food source. Next one's going to be fish. If you have local lakes, rivers, whatever that you can easily get to. I know a lot of parks and places are closed or closing, but if you can get to access to some sort of body of water that you think might have fish in it, go out and fish, okay? Fish away. All right, the next one's going to be small game. Squirrels are one of the most popular options just because they're so easy to catch, and in many urban areas very abundant. But places like in the desert, there's jackrabbits and things like that. Learn how to trap and hunt small games. All right, the next one is going to be make from scratch. Making things from scratch is definitely a good idea. Figure out how to make things from scratch. Can't find pasta? How do you make it? You can't find bread? How do you make easy bread, right? If you can't find certain things in the store, can't find crackers now, how do you make crackers, right? You can't find certain things in the store, then figure out a way that you can make it yourself. Can't find baking powder? You can actually make your own baking powder, right? And also the thing with flour is you can actually mill your own flour. I've seen hard wheat berries totally in stock, but you have to buy a grinder, of course, as well. I've seen a grinder for like $70 or something. It looks like a pretty good grinder. And so, like a bag of like 50 pounds of wheat berries or something was like $40. You get the wheat berries and then you just make your own flour, okay? So learn how to make your own stuff and, look online. How do I make my own bread? How do I make my own whatever, right? Whatever that you're eating. All right, after all of these suggestions, I want you to keep in mind that, your eating habits may be very different than what you were doing, when you're eating like totally fresh produce and things like that. Now, if you can go to the store and get produce, fruits and vegetables, and dehydrate them for later, that's fantastic. Preserving and canning your own fruits and vegetables is a really good idea. But let's say, you're not eating as fresh as you used to, that kind of thing. You're eating more canned stuff, whatever the case may be. I want you to consider supplementing your diet with vitamins. Normally, we should be getting enough vitamins from the food that we eat and consume, but if we're eating a little bit differently, like in an emergency situation where there are lots of food shortages, then we need to take a daily supplement so that it's supplementing, at least getting a little bit of vitamins and nutrients in your system that you maybe aren't getting through the food that you eat. So I would highly suggest stocking up on vitamins as well, at least getting, a bottle or two, and get kids vitamins as well. Both my children and both my husband and I take vitamins every single day. And of course, don't forget about your pets. Stock up on dog food, or figure out how to make dog food from like your canned foods, or figure out how to make dog food, stock up on, raw dog food, whatever it is that you're doing. Don't forget about your pets, your livestock, whatever it is you have, and stock up as much as you can on that. Again, don't clear the shelves, just get like 1 or 2 extra of that. Also, search online for the things that you need. A lot of the freeze-dried stuff and dehydrated foods and, companies and things like that, they're really struggling right now. It's like 4 to 6 weeks out that they're getting the orders. They're really... one person made a comment, the preparedness companies weren't prepared. Okay, so anyway... but you can still find stuff online for normal prices. So search around and try to see if you can get notifications whenever things get back in stock so that you can get it right away, such as even, canned foods like canned chicken and, pasta, rice, all these things that may be still out of stock online, but, could come back in stock in the next couple weeks or so. Things are slowly starting to come back in stock. I've been seeing flour a little bit more lately. Of course, some days I see flour and then it's gone for like a week, and then I see flour for a couple days. It's just really back and forth right now, and it's really uncertain. And food shortages could continue to get worse, or it could be getting better. But either way, we want to be prepared in a variety of senses so that we're not left, having to solely rely on the grocery store. The whole point of being a prepper is that we are prepared so that we don't have to rely on other people. I don't think there's anything wrong with relying on modern conveniences such as grocery stores and things like that. But we also have to keep in mind that, we rely on these systems when in really good times so that we don't have to rely on them in bad times. Anyway, I hope that these ideas have been helpful. Really think outside the box about where you're going to get food. If you want to survive, food's pretty important. So is water. Definitely don't forget the water. Thank you all so much for watching. Conquer tomorrow by preparing today. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye.